and welcome to Public Conscience on Radio, the anti-corruption program produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. PRIMOG is a civil society group with the mandate to promote good governance, participation, and accountability in Nigeria. I'm Okiri Agbonsuremi. A warm welcome to you wherever you are listening to us. On Public Conscience on Radio, we seek to evolve a corruption-free society through the amplification of corruption stories reported by our partner media organizations and drawing citizens and government attention for democratic actions against it. We are supported by the MacArthur Foundation. Remember that you can follow us on our social media platforms at Official PRIMOG. PRIMOG is PRIMORG. PRIMORG. You can follow us, and we are streaming live on Facebook at Official PRIMOG. You can join us, and you can watch our video on PRIMOG TV, our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to get reminders when we have a new post. Today on the program, we have our focus on the COVID-19 episodes, the management, palliatives, and the evacuation of Almajiris by some states in northern Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari, you will recall, gave the government a pass mark in his last nationwide broadcast, saying the distribution and expansion of palliatives has been ongoing in a transparent manner. Civil rights activist Ezewan Wangu of Say No campaign is standing by to join us on the palliatives distribution across Nigeria. Will he say that he agrees with the president that the distribution of the palliatives have been going on, or just to use what the president said, ongoing in a transparent manner? There are still complaints by civil society groups that the government has not been open and accountable in the spending of the COVID-19 funds. And we have Hamza Lawal of Follow the Money standing by to give us updates on the quest by the civil society organizations, including his group, for accountability in the COVID-19 expenditures. And the COVID-19 episode has raised up the plight of the Almajiris in our country. Of course, as we speak, many of the states are removing these innocent children in large numbers from their states and transporting them back to their states of origin. Public Conscience on Radio is an interactive program. Begin to send your messages to our number that will get your input in some of or all of these subjects we are discussing. The number to send a message to is 09022656167. This number is for messages only. Let's begin with the issues of the deportation. That is, we use that advisedly. Deportation of Almajiris by some northern state governments. That has been in the news for some time. And we have Mohammed Sabo Kenan, a young man, a young Nigerian who has done a great deal using his time and knowledge and resources to move against the Almajiri movement that is, he needs to be restructured or outrightly cancelled. Kenan is of the Almajiris Child Rights Initiative and is right with me in the studio. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me today.
Briefly talk about the origin of the Almajiri syndrome in Nigeria. We are going to bring it down to how they got caught up in this COVID-19 crisis, the accountability in the entire process, and if they have a life that we as a people will want to preserve and respect and see as the future of this country. But what is the origin?
The origin of the Almajiri practice has to be with the fact that the quest for seeking education, Quranic education by Muslim parents, in the sense, long before the independence, Nigerian independence, when Islam was introduced to the northern part of the country, parents were very much interested in getting their children school, have knowledge of the Quran education. So that led them to, send their children into the Islamic system of education, where they are expected to learn the Quranic education. So at that time, because of those with the knowledge of teaching the Quran, we are few in between the parent. So I mean, if one Malam is, say, far away in Maiduguri, and you are in Sokoto, and you needed your child to learn the Quran,
you send your child there.
You send your child there, just like the way we send our child to other boarding school far away from our community. So that was just basically the origin of.
Is Almajiri native to Nigeria? For instance, if you go to Saudi Arabia, if you go to Sudan, if you go to Egypt, are these established places where you have Islam? Do you have Almajiris in these areas?
Not in the sense and in the manner we see children having to move from very far away from their homes to another location uncatered for and in an unregulated manner. So we have, of course, institutions that teach children the Quran across these Islamic countries, but the system is not characterized the way we see children on the street begging and all that. So what we see on the children on the street in Nigeria begging, in the manner we see the Almajiri children, is almost common to only northern Nigeria and some West African countries. Now,
you are a Muslim.
Yes.
Now, did you learn the Quran?
Yes, inshallah.
How did you learn the Quran yourself? Let's begin from home. Did you go through the Almajiri system?
A lot of us went through the Almajiri system, but the one that allow us to attend the school but go back to your parents' house. And they also have the opportunity to also go to formal education and do other childhood plays. So, of course, a lot of people went through the
the Islamic education system.
Let me also say that Almajiri does not mean anything other than a mobile studentship. Just as a student seeking for knowledge. So, but what has characterized it is the fact, that these children have been sent far away and having to.
And the Malams who have to depend on them to beg for arms for them to be able to feed. Let's take it down closer. Now, your organization, the Almajiri Child Right Initiative, you have been working very hard. And as an individual, as Muhammad Sabo Kena, you have also been working. I know you have the support of the MacArthur Foundation at some point to begin to advocate in across Nigeria what we should have as a basis for teaching and making sure that these children are not lost on the streets. Now, these children, from your own organizational work, how many are they on? If you can't put a finger on the total number, what is your estimate from your organization? Are they across northern Nigeria?
Okay, so I mean the issue of data for the Almajiri children, I mean there has been a very recurring issue without any definite answer to that.
The reason I've asked you this question is because we have 30,000 already evacuated from Kaduna State. 30,000 from just one state. So from your estimate, do you think across Nigeria is the challenge, the number?
They could be well over 7 to 9 million, In fact, there are some figures that say up to 9 million. I mean, 9 million has been some of the figures that have been used across board by a lot of organizations and all that. But of course, the statistics is being disputed and all that. Some even say it's more than that, while others say it's less. But with the recent evacuation of this Almajiri from various states, we hope we can be able to use that process to be able to get the real data around the number of these children. So if Kaduna State is sending, say, 30,000 away from their state, we'll also be asking how many of those Almajiri are within their state.
From Kaduna State itself.
So this is one of the things we're going to be asking going forward. And if this is being done across the state, it will help us a lot to
get the figure, at least closer to the figure.
Absolutely. So it's what we're working on, hoping to do, and hoping to get the exact figures. But not also, beside this, the citizens of Nigeria that come from other states, we have other citizens of Niger and other...
Who are also Almajiris?
Who are also Almajiri, who are currently stranded in various parts of the country, northern states, because of this COVID-19 crisis and the relocation order. So we will have to also be able to getting them also included in the data we're trying to generate is also important for further policy actions.
Now, we have Almajiris in Nigeria. In Kaduna alone, we have repatriated, in quote, foreigners. That is those who are not from Kaduna State.
Yeah.
Moved out. We don't know exactly how many are from Kaduna State themselves who are not being repatriated. So, if we have 30,000 being repatriated, it's also safe to say we may have up to 30,000 in Kaduna who are from Kaduna State. It may be difficult, but one can just hazard that guess. And assuming that we have 30,000 from Kano, from everywhere, and if you have to multiply that by, because even in Abuja we have Almajiris.
A lot.
A lot of them.
Oh, yes.
So we are actually looking at a huge figure that actually be in that UNICEF figure of 16 million children on the streets who are not getting education. Now, let's take a look at the accountability, because when we are talking about accountability on this program, we are not only looking at money.
Exactly.
We are looking at accountability for ourselves.
Absolutely.
We are looking at accountability for our children. The parents give birth to children, they give them to malams, government condole them, and our children grow on the street. And there's a common question that I always ask when I think I have not asked you this question, and you are in a position to answer that question for me today. The Almajiris of 25 years ago, those who were on the street, they didn't get any formal education. They didn't get any, because formal education could be in Arabic. You don't have to study science in English alone. We are talking of real study that will give you creative skills. They didn't have such education apart from Quranic education. The Almajiris of 25 years ago, of 20 years ago, where are they now?
This is where, of course, the issue of accountability, is very important. If for the last 25 years, if we have failed to ensure education rights of the Almajiri children, 25 years ago, 25 years later, of course, the only life opportunity that such children will have will just be of life of either a crime and criminality, because there are various studies that have shown that children who are not educated, who are not given the opportunity to have education at childhood, will only grow up to have to grow up to live a life of crime and criminality. So, if to answer that question very straightly, I would say there are those we see being used as political talks. There are those that are involved in some of the violence activities around banditry, and kidnapping that we see now. There are those that have been involved in the Boko Haram crisis that in the northeast part of the country, and this is justifiable. If I'm 25 years old and I am not educated to think rationally, I'm not educated to also be able to have opportunity to acquire a decent paying job, and you come with a very few amount of money or something to entice me to join you in your violent activity, it's easy for me to be part of it. So if you are asking of where the Almajiri children are 25 years ago, you don't have to look further than around this area. But not to say that there are a lot of them also that have been able to make with the little.
They were able to survive it
with the knowledge of the Quran and other skills they have learned around shoemaking and all that, are also been those who we see either doing shoe shining, wheelbarrow pushing, and all that. So there are some that have make use of their little skills to be able to be involved in some media jobs. But
definitely, they are not in professors in our universities.
Absolutely not.
They are not the medical doctors that we use.
So the thing is also we must have lost maybe the best doctor among them, the best lawyer, among those ones that did not get the opportunity.
Okay, we'll be coming back to you. Let's go to the issue of palliatives. You have a very wonderful package today, and we want to bring in Ezewa Wangu of Say No Campaign, an organization that has been following the distribution of palliatives nationwide, because the Almajiris are also involved. Yeah. Who did the Almajiris get the palliatives? And those are in Abuja, who is taking care of them, and what has happened nationwide with the palliatives distribution. The president said it has been open and transparent. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ezewa Wangu. Let's do our countdown. COVID-19, the crisis that arose, and then many people were asking for palliatives, and they were asking for money, and the federal government, the state governments, FCT, all of them. I know your group, Say No campaign, you have been doing a great job monitoring and looking at who gets what. Give us a picture of what you have seen.
Okay, thank you so very much for having me. And I think that we need to first put a baseline. Most of what is going on now is not yet, you can't, in the technical, in the way government is doing the cash transfers that are going on and all that, they are not palliatives. Because the transfer that is going on across the country is actually 2 months that is being owed to those who ordinarily were receiving those cash transfers before it was taken from the office that Mrs. Ways was pretending into the humanitarian affairs office. For 2 months, they were not paid any money. So what has happened in the midst of all of this, those monies are being paid. Then, secondly, is that there's a call about expanding the register, the social register. That register has not been expanded. And then the next other thing you have seen is that the seizures, the rise that the custom seized, the federal government has asked them to bring them out and they share them out. So if that is our definition of palliative, that is what is currently going on. So in most of the states, those rice and then with additional condiments of Maggi, little beans, gari, and all of that are being given out to people. But we specifically focused on the activities of the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory Authority. The work that they are doing in the 6 local governments in the FCT. It started out well in Abaji. A lot of, the Abaji distribution was top notch. There were not a lot of issues. But as they moved down, the issues around social distancing, the issues around scrambling, they also now introduce what they called pass, some kind of pass that were distributed, in a funny way in the night hours. And so if you don't have that pass, some people had up to 10 pass with which they collected for themselves. So at the end of the day, you find out that the poor, the rest of the poor, and indeed the vulnerable and the elderly that are the target of this intervention as we move along is not meeting the intendment. Across the country, reports, because Yaga is also monitoring across the country and we are getting feeds from that. We are seeing politicization, we are seeing a lot of lack of transparency and accountability. The Minister of State for the FCT said she was going to distribute 600,000 bags. There is nowhere, anywhere, anybody counted whether we had up to 600,000 bags. When they get to those communities, we create an emergency. And once you have emergency, corruption is rife. When you create an emergency, it means that nobody can then take count. If you want to take count, they will tell you, look, time is running out, can we quickly do this and get away? So in the haphazard manner in which all of this has gone has shrouded the ability of everybody to truly and honestly take a count. So it's what you say you are giving, that's what you are giving. Then some citizens who we had the opportunity of capturing on camera, open to us what you have been giving. In many places, they were shortchanged. In some places, they were giving rice. In another place, they were giving what we were not giving in other places. So it's really confusing. But as it is, the ones that are getting seems to be appreciating, they're excited that at least they are getting something. There's a mentality that, look, let government just give us something, no matter what it is that is going all over the place.
Wonderful. What a wonderful account. Now, there are so many people, like you rightly said, who should get, those who are actually at the rough edges. And we're talking about the Almajiris, those children on the street. If you go to Nyanyan, if you go to Karu, if you go to Kuje, Kwagwalada in particular, you see a lot of these street children caught in this grip. Did your group also find out if children at this level, they are malams, or those who are taking care of them, were actually even captured at all?
The challenge is that in many cases, the target is they had some kind of list which they eventually abandoned. Like I said, the ultimate target should be the most vulnerable in the society, which includes the Almajiri children we are talking about. But even at that, the Almajirization is a national phenomenon. Sometimes we like to compartmentalize it and say, oh, the truth is that at different levels, whether in the southwest or the eastern part of Nigeria, there are people who are on the streets. The phenomenon of street children is a national phenomenon. So everywhere you go to, you have people right now who would want to depend on this handout from their government to be able to survive. They are not being targeted. The politicization, the whole idea of indigenship playing out, the whole idea of you are not from here, you are from here, and even the callousness with which that is done is really debatable. You are seeing states where these people, from different states, whether it's in Lagos, whether it's in people are shipping out Nigerians who have been staying in those places and say, hey, you are not an indigene because of this paltry thing that. And look, palliative, if the definition of palliative is medicinal, it has to do with Medicare, something that relieves pain but does not solve the original problem. So it is an interim solution. So that interim solution should have been devoid of the lenses of where you come from, who your parents are. What we should have been very much interested in to ensure that whatever it is that we're giving out gets to the vulnerable.
Now, one of the quick things I want to take away from your position, what you have told us, is that, for instance, in the FCT, there was a promise that 600,000 people will be given. We don't know whether it is 600,000 bags, yes. So we don't know whether 600,000 families were reached, whether they are also up to that bags.
That's what I'm telling you, that when it started in Abaji, it came out well, it was a bit organized. But immediately after Abaji, what we have seen is that there is even scrambling. They didn't get to people's houses anymore. There are fights. The child of Buhari in one of the wards that he went to, where their vehicles were attacked by citizens who got frustrated and all of that. So the big challenge in all of this really is that when you don't have a systematic way of engaging anything, who counted the households? Do we have a street naming process? How do you know where people live?
When the president says distribution were done in transparent manner, which picture was the president looking at? The picture of the civil servants who continue to mislead. And that is why they do not want any transparent, any oversight around these issues. And that's the work of civil society organizations. It is to oversight and put them under pressure to open the opacity around this palliative, the whole intervention that is going around. We are supposed to beam that satellite. And for what we are saying, and which we are calling even the attention of the authorities to, is that, look, stop misleading people. You did not take a count, so you cannot say it's done in a transparent manner. You don't have streets. If you go to Kuje local government, for instance, now, how did you count the number of families? Okay.
There is no where you can say this is the number of families that are living in Kuje, because sometimes you don't even know where they live.
Thanks so much. Is the one go is of Say No campaign, telling us their experiences and the feed of looking at whether the distribution of palliatives were done in a transparent manner as was disclosed by the president himself, And if not, why not? For what we have, let me just come back to this studio. You heard what he said, that the Almajiris phenomenon is like almost nationwide. Almost everybody's an Almajiri somewhere. And when you talk about incentives and distribution, it's almost like the same thing everywhere. So there are a lot of street people, and they're all over Nigeria.
Okay, yeah, I mean, he's very much is right to say that. But you see, that's why we have been we usually try to discuss the issue of these children in the context of vulnerable children,
yes,
who are systematically being deprived and of their fundamental right as children, you know. So I mean, it's fair for us to be able to argue that they should also be included in the
palliative. Yes.
I mean, the president has said in his speech some few weeks ago that the school feeding program should be should continue, even despite the fact that the children are at home. And if as a nation, as a country, we have either accepted or otherwise the structure of the Almajiri system, if it's a school, that the way we call it, and these children are also in school, and they should also be captured, you know, in the feeding program. So, but it's not what we are really talking about for now, since that has not been in
all right. Let's just quickly take another call, and then let's go to the arena of the accountability we talked about in the handling of the COVID-19 funds. And of course, despite the loud cries from civil society groups and organizations and individuals that the federal and state governments be open and accountable in the disbursements of the COVID-19 funds, it appears those cries have been falling on deaf ears. Hamza Lawal, who has been following the money, now joins us. He was with us about 2 weeks ago, and he now joins us to give us an update. Thank you so much, Hamza, for joining us. Hamza is of the Follow the Money fame.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, since the last time we spoke, we talked about the opaqueness, the closeness of the close-up nature of the spending. Have you made any inroads? Has anybody spoken to you? Have you had any discussions? Have you been invited? Have any of your mails, any of your discussions, your FOI, have they been answered?
Not really. So most of our FOIs have not yet been answered. And maybe just to give context to the conversation. So far, Follow the Money have mapped, using public available resources and public available information, 87.28 billion that have been mobilized to tackle COVID-19. 87.028 billion.
Wow.
50% of these resources came from international donor. Government is 1.2%, individual is about 37.3%, and organization is about 11.23%. Talking about private sector, we know that COVID, which is being led by the CBN governor and Aliko Dangote, have mobilized about 27 billion naira, and Dangote has committed that they would use 23 billion, that his foundation will use 23 billion to provide palliative, targeted about 10 million individuals at 14,400 per person to buy rice and other food items to be distributed. So, but we've gotten feedback from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and the Ministry of Finance. And the last conversation is also saying that they're still working on the accountability framework around disbursement of resources.
When they tell you that they are working on the accountability framework, are we going to spend the money before we work on the accountability framework, or there should be an accountability framework in the course of spending? Are they already spending some of these monies in buying materials?
Obviously, they're spending the money in buying materials, setting up isolation center, setting up more labs. So yes, they're spending. And exactly my sentiment when they said this, I said, but you're already spending resources.
how can we ensure accountability, when you're not providing us with information and you're still working on an accountability framework? And we've said, if you need help, Follow the Money can help you work on this accountability framework for free, without any cost. This would be our own contribution towards nation building. And speaking about distribution of items,
what have they said about your suggestions?
They said they were going to get back to us. I'm also aware that, the government have, mandated as civil society organizations to mobilize and coordinate civil society efforts around tracking palliatives. So, I got a call. First, I got an SMS inviting me to a meeting, to discuss this issue. I declined to go for this meeting for two reasons. One, we can't enforce social distance and then go for physical meeting. And I don't want to be in the same room with people who I don't know where they have been in the last couple of weeks. And, again, I don't want to be part of the people who spread this deadly virus. So I declined. But I got a call from the coordinator of this group 2 days ago, who is saying that they want to integrate Follow the Money, so we provide accountability framework. I asked two questions. I asked, you said federal government has mandated you. Which of the agencies of government? I didn't get a response. What I had was, we're going to talk within our team and we'll get back to you.
Is the federal government deciding which NGO to monitor, or they should actually key into existing platforms of NGOs that are doing this to set up the template for them? Why is the federal government deciding who to monitor for them?
So it's quite, So I'm also confused, because when I had the name of this civil society organization, I've never heard about them, to be fair. And I tried to do a bit of research about them, but I can't really place my hand on what they've done in recent past. So again, it also begs that if the government setting up a framework that allows civil society to be truly independent. And speaking about palliative distribution, and if your listeners and you have seen the clips recently where some governors have come public and say, we're getting expired rice. We're getting expired rice from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. What's going on? This rice cannot be consumed. I just to also announce that the International Monetary Fund Executive Board yesterday approved the sum of $3.4 billion.
That's over 1 trillion.
Yes, that's over 1.5 trillion naira.
Yeah.
For COVID-19 emergency financial assistance.
Any known template as to where this money is coming to and how it is going to be expended?
So this money would go to the Ministry of Finance through the CBN account. So this money would be mostly domiciled with the Ministry of Finance, and CBN coordinates this effort. So what this also means is it's exciting that we're getting financial resources, to tackle COVID-19. It's also important to note that the Senate yesterday approved President Muhammadu Buhari's request to mobilize resources internally, the tune of about, if I'm not mistaken, about 850 billion.
Let me just ask you straight away. In all these funds, the locally mobilized 87.02 are something. We have about over $3 billion coming, over 1 trillion naira coming. The National Assembly also giving money to the president, and all the local money that have been gathered all together. Hamza, what are your fears?
My fears lies with government. How government is responding, how government is providing information. And the last time I stressed that lack of access to information is tantamount to corruption. And mind you, we're fighting not just COVID-19, we're also fighting fake news. So if you don't provide citizens and civil society with timely information, what this means is mischief makers, would run with it. But I am also hopeful, because if you hear a statement from the CACOVID, which is a private sector-led coalition, they're very open and they're very transparent. They give feedback every now and then, and they keep people engaged both on their social media, and they've made statement that every single kobo, they've made a strong commitment that every single kobo will be accounted for. That's from the private sector. But from government, and I think also that I think Mr. President is not aware of what's going on, because if you follow his speech, line 18, he said the distribution and expansion of palliative, which I directed in my earlier broadcast, is still ongoing in a transparent manner. Really? So what this means is Mr. President is being lied to, or he's not properly briefed about it, because we all know that the way the palliative is being distributed is not in a transparent manner.
All right.
So now Nigerians have not enjoyed palliative, and yes, and I agree with Ezenwa. What the government did with conditional cash transfer, which I call conditional cash payment, is not palliative.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Follow the money exponent, Hamza Lawa. He's working in Nigeria and is the host of other African countries. And now the time for us to open the phones. Of course, it's an interactive one that we have. I still have Mohammed Sabo Kaina in the studio talking about the guy who is leading. When I say the guy is a young guy who is working with his blood out to get the Almajiris off the street and change the narrative for them. We already have the phone full up. Let's begin to talk to you. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Please, can we make it as fast as 30 seconds?
Let me try. You see, Olivia, my name is Michael. I'm calling you from Abuja here.
Thank
you see, clearly from even the interaction you've had so far, that there is a plan to scuttle this thing and bring in scam on this whole thing, which is people are dying of a pandemic. And some people who are saddled with responsibilities to make this get to them are planning how to I don't know. Is this a cause on us in this country?
All right.
I don't know.
All right. Let's go to the next person. We have.
My name is Adam. I'm calling from Karo. Yes, I appreciate what Hamza is doing, but I have a question to Hamza. Who is funding their organization? If some people, if they are funding individually, for I know he was champion for this thing for more than maybe 5 to 6 years. Can he show us his report? What I mean by his report, yearly report, how he get funds, how they spend it. You know, because accountability, you have to show by yourself. It's an organization, I think they are registered. So let's see their account too. Let's see how they spend. Let's see where they get money.
Are you in doubt as to whether
I'm not in doubt now.
Okay.
I'm not in doubt.
No, we don't even need to be in doubt. I think you can actually find out from him. I
appreciate what he's doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are aware that I know that MacArthur Foundation has been supporting him individually. I don't know if he has gotten money anywhere, but he has been helping himself, working, using his own funds. The MacArthur Foundation has also been supporting his ideas, working around, but he can speak for himself. Quickly.
He's talking about Hamza.
Okay, Hamza.
But I know Hamza, and I know they follow them, everybody knows them. If you can just go to their website, I believe you can find their latest annual report and activities.
Hamza report is up there in the sky. You can go to the internet and you get everything, all their support groups. It's just like a Primog. If you go to our website, you see our reports, and we have there's no civil society group that is doing accountability that will not want to first put itself out there so that you have. Let's take one or two more calls and then we wrap up. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
My name is Elder Imaokono. I'm your friend.
You are my boss.
Thank you, Ohide. Let me salute you for your courage in touching the firewood that has two ends. As well, we put it clear, we in the civil NGOs, we made it clear that until the government opens itself to connection between the media and themselves, if we cannot get this settled out, nobody can deceive Nigerians. Remember, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, where is the location where we can now go to them and give them the statistics of what we want to find out? So, you people who are so courageous, let us find out the location of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs so we can bring these issues like Muhammad has raised, like Hamza has raised, like we have raised, like the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations have raised. So please, it's important for us to connect them. But when they put the hearts on earth, to prevent us from reaching them, then we can't get the true story.
All right, let's take some other calls. Thank you so much, Makuru. Hello. Do us
Osilama.
Osilama, please do us a wall of good 30 seconds.
Okay, fine. No, my take is the broadcast from Mr. President. The line was that trade of when I was watching it, and he said they are following up my people. They are doing whatever palliative
in a transparent manner.
You know what? I shouted and said, God, Oga don't lie. That's what I said. My wife was like, what happened? I said,
Oga not the lie.
No, I'm saying this. I'm telling you what I said. You know, I'm telling you what I said because of the way I felt.
Yeah.
You understand? Because you cannot tell anybody that you bring money to the table, distributing money hand to hand. No proper record. At this jet age, today we are now, today we will do so. Government, an entity say they want to distribute money hand to hand to individual. But we are not pushed again.
Okay, just the last corner and then we wrap up. Hello.
Bessie Anthony is my name. I want to tell one of the callers, talked about accountability. I don't know whether he was referring to the guy in the studio or to Hamza. Number one, the MacArthur Foundation, there is no organization they put $1 or $1 in that they won't be getting how they are spending it. That one is
You are
clear.
correct.
Yeah. Secondly, please, I think that the problem we have is that government is, just like the last caller, Osila, my friend said, they are not really in connection with what is happening and the information they are sending to them. Just like one of your guests who called said, information, the civil servants will just tell you, we are sharing it, we are doing this, meanwhile, it's a different thing in the field. People are hungry here. Because for me today, somebody who I never expected to need help asked me for 2,000 naira really got me really shocked. Things are really not that easy. These trucks that people are attacking trucks with food and so on and so forth, I think it's desperation. And to a large extent, I'm not going to encourage that because it's criminal, but somehow you don't blame them. You don't keep a bus conductor, a driver at home, a Baba or somebody or a other person who makes daily income at home, and there is nothing for him to feed his family.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We have got a lot of people trying to call in, but we can tell you that next week when we come back, some of these issues will speedily be on the table. We are very sorry that we cannot continue to take the calls. A lot of information you can still give to us. Please send a message to our phone number, 090-2265-6167. Send your number there. We would also be able to get back to you. But let me just quickly give Mohammed, right in here in the studio, opportunity to respond to all of it. The quest, where are we going to? Because Almajiris was our major focus today. Where are we going to? All this push, move them from here to here. I hope we are not going to get them back when the COVID-19 is finished. What template are you using to be sure that these children remain with their parents?
Okay, so with the COVID-19, it kind of hastened some of the recommendations we've been making around the need to have a framework for getting these children educated and have a proper like every other children. So
are they going to come back?
I'm really a bit certain that they are not really going to come back.
They are not going to come back. The 30,000 that were moved out of Kaduna, they will remain with their parents.
I strongly believe
that's your optimism.
Exactly, because with the commitment I have seen from the Kaduna state government and my own state government, national state, and quite a number of other states, Kano, that I've spoken with the governor. Yeah, they have shown real commitment. In fact, one of the commitment by the Kano state government was that any household that allow any Almajiri to come and settle will be
penalized.
Yes, they will seize
so
the
what
house.
happened to the Almajiris who are indigens of Kano?
So they are absorbing them. That's what the government is saying. Anyone that is our indigent, we're going to enroll them to school and make sure they get education and all that. So that's
Mohammed, we are here together. We'll be monitoring.
I said, so this is going to be the next phase of our activities, ensuring that that all these children that they are relocating get education that they deserve.
All right. We just have to go now because of time. And I want to appreciate Ezewa Wagu of Say No Campaign, Hamza Lawa of Follow the Money, and right in here in the studio, Mohammed Sabo Kena of the Almajiri Child Rights Initiative. Thank you for joining me on the program.
Thank you, sir. I'm good to have you.
And Public Conscience on Radio is produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. The program is supported by the John T. and K3 D. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. You can get more information about MacArthur Foundation by going to their website, www.macfound.org. Join us next week for another episode of Public Conscience on Radio. My name is Okiri Agbonsuremi, and keep your message coming. Remember, you have to stay away from the trouble of COVID-19. Stay safe and obey all the rules.